I write slowly. Now, let me tell you all the dirty little secrets. So far, I have written 3 books. You can check those out on Amazon if you're interested. But today, I am going to write another one just in 30 minutes. Well, a small book. We are going to do a challenge where you write as fast as you can for 15 minutes. You take a break. You write as fast as you can for 15 minutes. And then you have a flash fiction short story, a nice 10-minute read. I am going to do mine based off a prompt generator today. I'm actually using this pixel art one, and I'm going to roll this dice, and it's right. 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cogs, faith, and pure. So steampunk religious. That is interesting. Okay, well, I have several ideas going through my brain. The tones for this is red, so I'm probably going to do something maybe a little bit violent, and we're going to see how it goes. So I started out with just opening up a new Google Docs and just wrote as fast as I could. I wrote the 3 prompt words at the top of the page so I could refer back to them. And then I kind of just followed my idea of a priest or cleric of technology being very self-conscious about whether or not they were perceived as righteous, and everyone kind of seeing her as either, maybe. I just feel like with my recent transition in the last 6 months, I've had a lot of people make assumptions of my beliefs based off that and things like that. And I really wanted to just kind of tap into those emotions and express them in a way that could be perceived as external rather than all this internal dialogue. And so she's trying her very best to gain followers for the church and things like that, and it never seems to go well. And then it does go well, and then there's all these followers for the church, but are they really there for the right reason? Does that actually do anything? And so it's all about this idea of, do I need external validation or not? And that's kind of what my creative process is like. I have the theme, the texture, the things I'm going for. And I really like to just write and focus on some emotions that I can try to put into this scene and see how I relate to the character. So I feel like if I relate to the character, other people might be able to as well. And I think this is one of the best ways to do it, is no pressure writing. You just set a timer for 15 minutes and you just have to be writing for that 15 minutes as much as you can. Because then you're just going to get things on the page. Sometimes the hardest part is starting. And so getting almost a full page filled out in 15 minutes is pretty crazy. That's actually really impressive even for me, who I've done hundreds of these little flash fiction. And I think this is also a great method to learn how to wrap up / end a story. So often when we're writing, we just write the beginning over and over again, and we don't get many chances to write the end. So I think this is a great way to practice writing a book, is by writing kind of these short flash fiction stories so that you can learn your process from beginning to end. All right, that was 15 minutes of writing. Isn't that crazy? I wrote over a page in 15 minutes, which I don't know if I've ever done that, so I'm really curious what this word count is. I wrote 574 words in 15 minutes, so another 15 minutes might get me to about 1,000 words, and you're looking at something that's about a smallish chapter. I made a couple of mistakes as I was writing. I totally just turn off grammar and spell check while I'm writing because it drives me insane to see all the things. So I'm going to go back and fix them later anyways. And it's just, for me, it's 2 different parts of my brain, one that does grammar and one that doesn't. And that's how I write so fast. And then it's going to take me a little bit longer to revise. I ended up writing about a priest of technology. And that's how I fit cogs, faith, and purity in. And right now, she just made a device She made this little golem that can cast healing magic spells if people like insert a special coin that gives it power. And the thing that she doesn't realize is that healing magic isn't as simple as she thinks it is. And so she's actually created a huge problem because first off, it doesn't really hit the person, but like regenerative spells like this would actually make things like poison work faster, because anything that your natural immune system is causing the problem, giving it a boost isn't necessarily going to help very much. So in her desperation as a cleric to prove how righteous she is and to make this device that can heal people basically for like a penny, creates a bigger problem when someone gets hurt with it, and then she's going to go to track down the device and it's going to be stolen. And I think that's a good little flash fiction story. Debating about the stolen part, because you don't know like how much of a resolution should there be in flash fiction. Should I leave it like cool and mysterious, so like oh what happened, you know, or should I like mostly resolve things? So I'm gonna write 15 minutes and this thing will be almost finished. After that, I have to take a break so my brain can recover and then go into revise mode. And once it's in revise mode, then I revise it, think it's all good, and then I have my wife read it and she tells me all the things I need to fix. So stay tuned for her reaction. I wonder what she'll think about this and what this little priest of technology with her little golem will do. Youch. 19 minutes later, I finish. 30 minutes of writing for half a page. Now, if we turn on spell check, we're going to see disastrous things. 1,300 words in 35 minutes, which is a crazy amount of words. It should be available by the time this video goes back up. You'll see a book cover on screen, but let's get to it. I'm gonna go ahead and revise this, and next time you see me, I will tell you how revising went. I'll be in a different outfit, and then we'll read. The story is kind of about how people's admiration of you, or even their perception of you, can be so fickle. It can be based off things that are not even about you. Or you could debate that it's otherwise. But to me, that's kind of what it means, is that, like, at one moment, people will be impressed with something with you that you've done or accomplished or with your spirituality. And then in the next moment, they'll be cursing you. And so if this was a full book, that's what it would look like, is one chapter she's praised, the next chapter everyone hates her and just feels like it's going back and forth and all crazy, and she just feels confused, and it's all about trying to find that internal validation from yourself and not from others. So that's what this is about. I'm excited to show you the full thing. That'll happen in just a moment. What are you guys doing all the way up there? It's time to revise the book. Now, it's been a while. This camera angle's kind of special, isn't it? Let's see. We gotta go even lower. Okay. It has been a couple of days, my friends. It has been a couple of days. I have finished revising the first draft, and now it was time to show it to my wife. But alas, my wife had physical therapy and work, and what am I going to do? Sit her around for 10 hours and then have her read it when she's exhausted and wants to go to sleep? I should be cooking her dinner. No. So I am going to do something dangerous, something more dangerous than sitting under a table. But you didn't think I'd work that one in there. I am going to revise it by myself. And once this is revised, it will be out for free for you. I will read it for you in my best voice, and it will be so wonderful. Usually, I publish these as a set of 5. So this process that I've done, 30 minutes of writing, 30 minutes of revising, and then another 30 minutes of revising. I usually do that 5 times each month, and it's in a flash fiction series. I think I'm going to post one more, which will be the 4th in the collection, which will make for a total of 20 stories. Isn't that insane? So I'm going to go ahead and double revise this. And then I'm going to come out from under the table. Now, what does revising look like? Mostly, I am going over and changing my word choice. There's some sentences that are a grammatical conundrum, and I use all of the grammar skills invested into me to make it make sense, to make the language pop, to make sure all the tenses match each other, and then to just make sure that it can be read out loud. Revise this with a single click. Boop. So it is time. It is finally time to see what this whole story is about. It ended up being near 3 pages. It is now perfection. No one can say otherwise, although I'm sure everyone will have their own opinion. And I'm sliding down. Everything is awesome. Everything is fine. When you're a part of a team, and this is a great idea of a way to film this. I wish I had a way for it to auto-scroll, but my elbows are doing the crucial job of keeping me from falling down. Jordan was a lover of technology. Her goddess demanded it of her. Her pipe sparked as she ignited her black powder fuse. It erupted in flame and trailed down the workshop and out the window. A boulder lay, and the explosive force was harnessed by a contraption her goddess had shown her how to make. The boulder rolled down the embankment, several runes spinning crazily as it went. It exploded as it met a group of undead goblins. She grinned viciously, and people thought she was evil for worshipping technology when it so clearly saved lives. The raid lost its momentum, and she finally got back to her project. As a cleric, she had a measure of her goddess's divine power. She used it to inscribe sacred runes into a cog that was at the center of a golem that she had been building. Once finished, she prayed and purified the whole thing in fire. The result was a 3-foot-tall golem that should be able to cast healing spells if someone inserted a mana coin. She pulled one out and inserted it into the device. It made a tinkling noise as the coin fell through the metal golem before it burned it for power. The little golem reached out a hand, and a blast of healing energy came out of it. Stumped again. The thing didn't actually target her. There was just some way for this to work better. But it was good enough for her purposes. She packed up the creation and lugged along with a few other knickknacks and made her way to the temple. It was still early in the morning, and she was the last cleric to arrive. They weren't exactly in a small town, but not a sprawling city either. While each god had their own temple, they had a general one where priests and clerics came together to gather more followers. The 6 clerics before her all gave her a weary glance, realizing they would be working with her for the day. "How's it going today? You are all going to love what I have to show you," she said. "No, not another one of your experiments," a cleric of fertility said. He was Mr. Jenkins, a rather old cleric, so it must be a slow day for the temple if they sent him. Also represented were 5 other gods: God of harvest, God of light, God of mischief, God of color, and God of flame. Honestly, how was she the most despised when the God of mischief was clearly no good? "No, trust me, this is going to change people's minds completely," she said. "Shouldn't your doctrine do that?" the cleric of mischief said. "Why, that little cuss!" "But this will help people," she said. "Like last time?" he asked. Granted, giving everyone in the village access to gunpowder had seemed like a great idea to show off the miraculous power of technology. That was until people had started misusing it. How did anyone think that gunpowder was a viable ingredient in cooking? No, it did not make the flavor explode more in your mouth. Oh, give it a rest, the priestess of light said. Jordan turned to Meredith and gave her her full attention. Thank you. You didn't bring anything that would explode, Meredith said, raising an eyebrow and lowering her voice. No, of course not, she said. She didn't think there was any way for healing magic to make things explode. It just made things heal. Honestly, technological magic was just much better. Slowly the discussion died down, and the clerics and priests made their preparations. Even the priestess of light showed some nervousness. They set up booths down the street of the general temple. It was a nondescript stone building that the clergy all shared for events like this and rented it out for people. Each of their own temples was much more impressive, but the market-like area over here would have been too unholy for all of them. People showed up. Somehow word of her vanquishing the undead goblins had spread, and some people had come to thank her. The conversation would go something like, "Thanks for blowing up some monsters for once. Of course, happy to serve. Technology is here to bless. The almighty creator made food grow out of the ground for a reason." She smiled and silently cursed them all Luddites. Why was she in such a mud-stuck city? She was surprised they could even read. She once had tried to explain how the quill was technology, and people just refused to listen. At lunch, the temple square was absolutely packed, and she decided this was the best time for her reveal. Behold, behold, look here, I have made a device using technology that can heal and end your woe. She called out her chant a couple more times until a nice ring of people surrounded her. Not wasting the crowd's attention, she unveiled her golem. People gasped when they saw it take a step. Many shied back, but still watched, intrigued. Are there any among you that are injured? She said. An old man walked forward, limping heavily on his cane. She almost told him that she couldn't heal his old age, but decided to give it a try anyways. Just in case, she switched to a higher density mana coin and dramatically put it in the slot at the top of the golem's head. She heard the cogs clicking and turning inside as the golem's eyes glowed. A burst of golden light shot out of the golem's hand and instantly healed the old man, along with about half the crowd. The crowd erupted in applause, roaring and exclaiming at their now fresh bodies. Many demanded to buy her creation right then for outrageous sums of money. Before a bidding war could be organized, Jordan shouted as loud as she could, "Come to the temple to be healed. We have plenty of these available there." She repeated it a few times to the most adamant consumers, and she smiled smugly as the crowd dispersed. This is how it should be. Technology putting magic in the hands of the common person. She packed up her column and pushed her way through, ignoring the various questions such as, how many people can come a day? How many mana coins does it cost? Let me pay you, one merchant desperately pleaded. She repeated her same statement and rushed to the technology temple to see things set up. Many of the onlookers followed when they saw where she was going. So be it, she sighed. She'd ran up the steps. She'd just been here this morning. The tower had her workshop at the top and the ramps leading over the city wall. "Give me 10 minutes, she yelled as people started pestering her again. She set up the golem, gluing it with some fixing that made it impossible to steal, and had it on a pedestal inside the church in 5 minutes. There were other various pieces of technology on display, but this one was interactive, so it was near the front. She slumped, content to use the 5 minutes as a break. A few of the other clerics that were in saw her, but ignored her, used to her antics at this point. Things went smoothly. Her fellow clerics were excited at the crowds and let her rest. It was a raging success. A week went by, and with only a few minor incidents, one being general healing spells didn't help with poison, but that was an acceptable limitation, and the effects seemed to vary from person to person, but largely this was a success. People came to the temple in droves, and they even got a few more acolytes to keep up. It wasn't long before attempts to steal the thing came in. It happened every night until people learned that there was simply just no stealing from a goddess. 3 months later, Jordan woke up to go about her normal business, and the golem was gone. Reports said that it had simply gotten up and walked out, and no one had been able to track the thing since. That was the story. If you like it, subscribe. I probably should have said that earlier in the video. Yeah. Stay safe. I love you guys. Be cool. Bye. I can get out from under this table, finally.